Hi, I'm Abby Kearns. I am the Executive Director for Cloud Foundry Foundation. I see some faces that are part of the Cloud Foundry community. Paula, Alex. But for those of you that don't know what Cloud Foundry is, it is an open source cloud application platform. And it is something very near and dear to my heart. I've been part of the community for several years now, but recently took over as Executive Director at the end of last year. So I'm excited to be here, and thank you, Paula, for inviting me. I am going to put a disclaimer before my talk. This is a new talk with new slides and entirely new narrative. So I will ask your forgiveness early as I probably read some stuff and think about what I was trying to say with a particular graphic. And Fenton, no jokes. So as I said, I'm with Cloud Foundry Foundation, and one of the things that the reason we put together a new talk, and we're shifting our storyline a bit this year, and is we thought a lot about what is the value of a cloud application platform? What is the point of it? And the point of it is to really allow organizations to develop applications. And for developers, putting the control back into developers' hands on the ability to create, develop, and deploy code to production. And so as we think about what a developer is and we think about the evolution of creators, we went back 4,500 years ago to pyramids. And we thought about pyramids, and as we think about what you're doing as you're creating marvels, you're creating something that's going to stand the test of time. And so we started off with pyramids, and we were thinking, okay, what are other marvels that we can think of that people thought and created and invested in, and over time were able to create something that's still here 4,500 years later? And then we thought, okay, well, what else is there? And we thought about the first transcontinental railroad and how the idea came up on this massive feat of transportation, but that took a lot of effort and many years of investment to get it out and get it available and accessible. And each of those really took a lot of time and architecture and investment and engineering to develop and implement and then actually maintain. But times are changing, and who has the power is changing. And one thing that changed that and really changed the way I think about technology is this. How many of you here have a smartphone or an iPhone? See, everyone. And I've had an iPhone since they first came out in 2007, and it was great. I could text, I could take photos, sometimes some really crappy videos. And I thought, okay, this is great. I have a phone that texts and takes photos. But then 2008, a year later, the App Store came out. And all of a sudden, the phone took a different meaning for me. Now, where we are today, because of the applications and the services that are available on that, I'd rather lose my wallet than lose my phone. Because my phone it's my boarding pass to get on my flight. It's how I take Uber. It's how I order food. It's how I order groceries. It's how I pay my bills. I bank on it. I do more on my phone than I do on my computer. And what made that interesting? It wasn't the iPhone itself. It was the applications that were developed that run on that. The fact that United or Lufthansa made an app that runs on that. That your bank, HSBC, puts an app on there and allows you to transfer money and send money. That you can, in America, in San Francisco in particular, we have an app called Postmates. I don't know if that's here in London yet, but I'm sure it will be one day. You can order anything you want, and someone will go fetch it and drive it to you, which I feel like is the best thing ever. But all of that came because developers created applications on a platform. And that turned a phone into something meaningful and useful and a different way of engaging with technology. So why do I build up with that? Because the power and the control is changing. Developers, the creators, are the new hero in the story. The developers, all of you in this room, many of whom are developers, are changing the way companies interact and engage with their users, their community, and their customers. You are the fundamental shift in how organizations are building out a new way of business. They're transforming their business models. They're transforming the way they engage with the world around them. And so digital transformation is becoming the new norm. How many of you have heard that phrase, digital transformation? I know you have, Fenton. Once, at least once, right? Just once. And I realize it's a tired term, and I realize it's probably overused now that MIT is writing a weekly report about it. But it's here. And we can call it digital transformation, we can call it technology-enabled business model shift, whatever we want to call it. The way companies operate, the way they do business, the way they engage with their users is changing. And it's changing quickly. Developers are becoming the new heroes. This is my hero slide. They're the ones that are really leading this charge for organizations. They're the ones that are helping companies really rethink the way they engage with their customers. I always use banking, and I'm sure one day I'm going to do this talk in front of a lot of financial services organizations, and they're going to look at me weird, but I always use banking because to me it's the easiest and most tangible one. I mean, 5 years ago, if someone had told me that I'm going to be doing the majority of my banking on my mobile device, I would have laughed in their face. I'm like, there's no way. Why would I do that? I can go to the bank, I can go to the ATM, I can do online stuff and pay my bills, but why would I do it on my phone? And now 100% of what I do in my banking experience is on my mobile device. And that seems like a given. Of course we're doing that. Of course we're using our smartphone for that. But it's not. Just think about what that really required. It required someone to develop an app. And not just a translation of what was already an e-commerce site into a mobile app, but an app that really engaged with their users very differently for a bank. For them to think that, oh, hey, maybe people will want to take a photo of a check to deposit it. Maybe people will want to transfer money with a text. Maybe people will want to send money to their friends. And that really required a rethink. So, working back from there, you have the developers that really developed it and put the pen to the paper, so it were, so that you could have that application, have that access. But it also required the ability to update that app. So, you all have smartphones. How often are you getting updates on your applications? Once a year? More than that. Every day, right? So if you're developing a mobile app, you can't expect to, okay, we wrote a mobile app, we're done, we're good. We'll think about it for another year and then we'll come back to it. No, you're updating it constantly. You're updating it, refreshing it. You're seeing how your users behave, which means that now all of a sudden that developer that wrote that app has a connection to the business, who now has a connection to a customer that may not have been there before. And that feedback loop needs to be there and be immediate, and you need to have that conversation. And now all of a sudden you're doing, that's exciting, continuous delivery. And it's a slippery slope from continuous delivery to test-driven development. And the next thing you know, you're doing paired programming. And if you start thinking about that one app really starts to fundamentally change the way a business thinks about their customer and technology. Velocity. One of the things we talk about, why a cloud application platform? Why do I need a platform? Why do I need a PaaS? And realistically, you want consistency. As a developer and as an operator, you're looking for consistency because consistency gives you velocity. Velocity is what gives you the iterative ability to get that app, get that microservice, get that functionality in the hands of your end users quicker, faster, and iterate on that. You can't fail fast if you don't have the velocity to put something else out there immediately after. And that leads me to the value of open source. So as I said, Cloud Foundry Foundation is an open source foundation. It is one of the most interesting things about where we are today. I've been in technology 20 years, and I will say that this is my first foray into open source. And the most exciting thing about open source is I can sit down around a table with so many different organizations and so many different people and find common ground and find that conversation to say, how do we make the best technology? How do we make it better? How do we continuously innovate? And why does that matter? Why do you think that matters, really pulling together all of those people around the table and having that conversation? And that's because I'm a firm believer that diversity drives innovation. Diversity of thought, diversity of people, diversity of organizations, diversity of background. I don't think anybody can say that they're truly innovating if there is not a diversity of thought around the table. And I think that is one thing that, at open source, I'm the most passionate about. And I know that Paula, you, James, and Alexis are super passionate about it as part of this program as well. But without that, we are never going to be successful, and we are never going to be innovative. And I had to throw this one in. We had a bunch of World War II references here initially, but I feel like this is important because for me, as I think about open source and I think about developers and I think about where we're going in innovation, I think we are now in the potential to do so much. Never before in technology has that potential been here like it is today. The pace of technology is evolving. The ability and on-ramp is so much faster. The ability to do such interesting things and get it in the hands of users is never before have we really had that potential, and that's the most exciting thing I think about where we are right now and this year. So what can you do to get involved? I'm going to put a Cloud Foundry plug in here just because I'm excited about Cloud Foundry. You can attend one of our summits. We have one in Silicon Valley in sunny Santa Clara, California in June, and one in Europe in October, and no one knows this yet, so you will hear it first. Early October, Basel will be the Cloud Foundry Europe Summit. And we're doing things a little bit different at this event. Previously, we've really focused on the core Cloud Foundry and the operators and those that are running the platform. This year, we'll really broaden it, and our goal is to get at least 50% of the attendees to be developers. So we're bringing in language tracks and wanting to build that community around languages and the ability to develop and write code and write cloud-native applications. And we're going to bring a lot more of that into our events. We'd love to see more contributors and committers to the project. So getting involved in the code and using your voice to help us be the most innovative platform out there. And then finally, continuing to use it, write more applications, get more apps out there so that we can really see the magic that can unfold when developers have the power. And finally, think big. And I realize it might be a little trite, but realistically, if you've got the power as a developer to create, innovate, and change your business and your organization, think big. Fail fast, to quote Mark Zuckerberg, because I see a Facebook hoodie there. But really iterate often and get something out there. And that's it.